that off. Alright.
Has he posted them?
They were actually good. Like, seriously. I'm not joking.
What was good?
Emma's dad's making YouTube videos.
Oh, what for what?
Hunting.
Like, he's been recording all these trips he's went on.
And he got the dude to edit them. They're just like, because I watch them on YouTube, just random people. I told him that's as good as they get.
Oh, that's cool.
I probably shouldn't
Yeah,
watch
I
them
see
though
everything.
because he made us
With,
watch them. Like, sit down and be like,
Outdoor channel.
how do you like it?
There's a camera on the end of it. Boom, boom.
Okay.
He's got the whole setup. Like, if you were a professional, he's got the mic and the microphone. And
All right, here is our function. It wants me, it says, what's the following? What in the world does that mean? Looks like a foreign language.
reciprocal.
Okay, so it means take this function and find what have we been calling it? The inverse. Okay, so that's like if they just give you this on the ACT and it says this, that means what is the inverse of the function? Okay, looks like a foreign language. Like, how would you know that? You've never seen that before, right? So, how do you find the inverse? Did y'all know that's what that was or no? A little bit, maybe some of us did, some of us, no, okay, that's okay. So this function, you could rewrite it like this. Isn't that the same thing? F of x, that's function notation. This is just an equation, okay, which this is the function. So what do we do to find the inverse? We switch the x and y. So instead of writing this, I would write x equals 1 over y minus 1. Is everybody okay with that? Now, what in the world do I do to solve? Well, so one easy step. What you would do is I would have to multiply both sides by y minus 1. That's going to get, and then I'd have to divide this side by x. Do y'all want to know just a shortcut? Just a shortcut. Guess what I can do with these two things? I can just switch them. Y minus 1 equals 1 over x. Okay? Anytime it's written like that, it's like a little proportion. Okay? Like, I could put x over 1.
Hold on, but why? If you do that though, then the y wouldn't be moving.
Yeah, it makes it easier. The y has to get out of that denominator. So if I did each step, I would have to multiply by y minus 1. So over here, I have y minus 1 times x. But now I need to move the x over there. So what would I do to move the x? I would divide by x. So you end up getting 1 over x equals y minus 1. Then I have one more step left. But what I'm trying to show you is when it's written like that, you can switch and it's just y minus 1 equals 1 over x. Are we kind of okay with that? Maybe? Yes? Okay. I'll rewrite it on my paper over here in this darker color. So we said y minus 1 equals 1 over x. Then what's left to solve for y? You add 1. Add 1 to both sides. So I get y equals 1 over x plus 1. And that's it. Okay? How was that? I'm looking at their step. Here's where it shows all their steps. Same problem. I just kind of did a little shortcut with it. This is all of theirs. They switched their x and y, multiplied by y minus 1, divided by x, added their 1. Okay? How are we with that? We're okay. So we've done that. We've been doing inverse functions. Now the second thing, okay, so here I'm going to write, this is my inverse function looks like this. 1 over x plus 1. My first function is this. Is everybody okay with this? Here's my function. Here's my answer for my inverse. That's what I found. Now, here's problem 2 on my page. It wants me to find, welcome to 2 lessons ago, f of f inverse of x. Here's problem 2. How do you find f of f inverse of x? You plug the second one, this f inverse, into the first one. I'm going to plug this into that. Okay? So watch. Instead of writing 1 over x minus 1, I'm going to replace my x. Replace that x. Y'all can't see all that. With this whole function. Okay? So instead of 1 over x minus 1, it's 1 over x plus 1 minus 1. I just took this entire function and plugged it into x right here. I know. Well, it looks confusing. Well, first of all, what's 1 minus 1? Right down here. 0. So I have 1 divided by 1 over x. Okay, I would keep, change, flip. When you have a big division sign, you keep, change that to multiplication, and flip that to x over 1. What is 1 times x? That's 1x. Yep, 1x. There you go. Okay?
I feel like it'd be much better
If there were numbers for x. They actually did put a number in there. I didn't realize. It's okay. I'll do the other one. I'll put a number in this one. Okay, let's find f inverse of f of 1. There you go. Okay, let me write my two functions down because I'm getting too much on my paper. Here is my f function again. And here is my inverse function. Okay, ignore all that up there. All right, here's my two functions, f, y'all pay attention, and f inverse. Are we okay with that? Which one do I plug into the other? The second one. I'm going to plug my f function into my inverse function. So I'm going to take this right here and plug it in for x, right? So let me do that. I put 1 over all of that. And then plus 1 out here. Okay? Are we good with that? That's a lot. So what do I plug in for x? 1. So I have 1 over 1 minus 1 plus 1. Okay? That's a lot. I don't know if your calculator can handle this, but I would keep, change, flip, so be careful. Because what's 1 minus 1 down here? 0. So it looks like you have 1 in the denominator, but keep, change, flip it. All right, so that's 1. And instead of dividing, we multiply by and flip that 0 over 1. What's 1 times 0?
0.
And then plus 1? 1's your answer. That one. These are difficult. This is taking functions. This is finding inverses and taking functions and plugging them into the other. Huh? I don't know that this is on a paper. I don't think so. I am recording. Let me see. This paper we didn't do, and our next paper is graphing. I don't think I taught this last year. No, the reason I'm doing this is because when any of you take college algebra, you're going to have to be able to do this. You'll have to tell if functions are inverses or not, and you'll have to be able to find the inverse of a function, and you will have to do function notation. This will probably be like an entire 2 weeks of college algebra. So that's why I'm going over it. Will you remember it? No, like you won't, but whenever you get in the class and you relearn it, it'll be 10 times easier than if you've never seen it before. I'm not going to expect you to remember all this, like that's why you relearn it in college algebra.
Why do they make us do algebra?
Huh?
Why do they make us do algebra?
I don't know. I don't know.
Math eventually gets to a point where it's not like teaching you for the world. It's just a challenging aspect to make a grade on, right?
Well, and it's probably just to get you to think.
Yeah.
Like a lot of math. And a lot of math is in science. So they don't know, like in general, they just want everybody to take math, everybody to take science, everybody to take all these core subjects. because you don't know what you're going to go into in college. You think you do now, and maybe you're right, maybe you'll change it, but you will have had all the background knowledge to prepare you for whatever path you decide. If you're going to do something in math or science, then you have to have math or science. You know, like for even if you go into a science field, you have to know math, right? If you're going to go and be a librarian, you probably don't need to need all this math. But you'll have it in case you get over there and you're like, hey, I want to be an accountant now, or a CPA, or, I don't
I
know.
want to be a stay-at-home daughter.
That's
what I
funny.
like.
Let's see.
What'd you say?
Stay at home mother. Yeah, you
Depends
go
on
out,
where
I'll
you
stay
stay
in the
in
house.
bed.
Yeah.
Do any of y'all have Miss? Do any of y'all have Miss Lawhorn?
Next time.
Next time.
Y'all are gonna go to the computer lab Bec- because y'all are gonna go in there with Miss Joni.
Normally they just let us sit there with no teacher and won't bother anybody.
Yeah, I don't know, but for some reason they're sending y'all to.
Well, the next classes too, the freshmen and sophomores.
Is anybody over there now?
No, I think they've already went there.
They already went to the
I saw
computer
them
lab.
go out.
Okay, well, no, okay. So they're just sending, I think it's just everybody go to the computer lab. So are y'all her last class? No, then there'll be art. So y'all go to the computer lab
She's
next.
more-
Okay.
She's got 2 more classes. She got 9th grade. That's probably what they're worried about.
Um,
Yeah, 9th and sophomore.
okay, let's see. Here we go.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Did you finish?
This is what we're doing. Here's your function. We're only going to do a few of these, okay? And then we're done. We don't have a paper on it. Here is your function. I want you to find F inverse
He walked out.
of F.
He walked out of class and he had it.
Of
He was like,
10.
I found this just laying around.
Here we go. Are y'all listening?
And I was like, is that Ashton? So I got yours too.
Finished?
Are y'all ready?
In the,
Okay, what do we need? What are we missing? I have F of X. I have my function.
need the negative.
I need my inverse function. How do I find it?
You inverse it.
You switch them. So I'm going to put X equals 10Y minus 10. How do I solve that?
Flip it. Switch it.
Well, I did. I switched it.
Add 10.
I add 10. I did switch it. I switched, like,
10 and divide.
I could have rewritten it like that. And then I did switch them. So yes, add 10. Add 10. So I have X plus 10 equals 10Y. Then what? Divide by 10. There we go. I've got X plus 10 over 10 equals Y. Does anybody have an idea of how they would write that answer? They would put 10 under each thing. So X over 10, or 1 over 10X is another way to write it. That's how they would write it. Plus, and what's 10 over 10? 1. That's probably how they would write it. Actually, she was saying they would write it like this, and she's correct. This is the same as this, which is the same as this. All of those 3 things are the same exact answer. I know it looks crazy, but all of those are correct. Everybody good with that? You just kind of move stuff over. Okay, now I'm going to take my F function and plug it into my what? Inverse function. Okay, here is my inverse function right here. Or I'll do this one. Which one do y'all want me to do? Which one do y'all want me to use? They're all the same. First, second, or third?
Just close your eyes and pick one.
Eeny, meeny, miny, 2.
2? This one? Okay, she says we're going to go with this one. So I'm going to take my F function, 10x minus 10, and I'm going to plug it in right there. So I have 10x minus 10 over 10 plus 1. Okay, and I'll go from there. Does everybody understand how I got that? Instead of x over 10, we wrote 10x minus 10 over 10 plus 1. What is 10x over 10?
1x.
1x. Okay, I'll write that down. And then what is minus 10 over 10? Minus 1 plus 1. What is negative 1 plus 1?
Negative 2.
It's 0. So I get x. What did they want me to plug in for x though?
10.
10. There's our answer. So we found the inverse and we plugged it into the other function.
Hold on.
Yep.
This may be a stupid
I
question.
started working.
I'm sure it is. But
What?
when you
I was
subtracted
watching and still.
10 from 10, how did you get 1?
When I subtract, I had 10x over 10. The 10s cancel out and it's x. I have minus 10 over 10. The 10s cancel out to 1.
How 1 instead of 0?
10 over 10, if you have
Oh, 1.
10 out of 10 is 1.
I
If,
figured it was
if-
a stupid question.
no, but I mean, think of it in terms of pizza. You have a pizza. There's 8 slices. If you eat 8 out of the 8 slices, you have eaten one whole pizza. So, I don't know. Okay. No, it's not a stupid question because a lot of people automatically want to guess 0. Okay. Do y'all just want to practice some of the inverse functions without plugging them in? And do we need to practice any of the domain and range from yesterday? What do we need? Yes.
If we have a paper, can we use it?
I have no idea.
I don't have I'm not going to take this up from y'all for your paper, but do y'all want to look at it and see what was on the paper and what one y'all want me to do?
Uh-huh.
Yes, okay. And then we'll just go to graphing the last paper next week. And then I will get study guides to y'all next week as well. Do not turn this in. Y'all are just looking at it to see what you want me to go over.
How bad was the domain yesterday?
Not bad. That's what I can go over. You can ask me to do
Is
them.
this a test?
Yeah.
No,
No, this is not a paper you'll turn in or anything. Y'all are just looking at it, and the back of it is just some little graphs that we could graph our stuff on. Okay.
Can you do a domain range one?
Yes. So that would be number 8 or 9. I think I did one of them yesterday. How about I do which one you want me to do?
8.
Okay. So it says find the inverse first. So really quick, I'm gonna rewrite this.
This is one you can plug in the calculator, right?
Yeah. That's one way to do it. All right, here's my equation. All right, now listen, I'm going to find the inverse. How do I find the inverse?
Add your 4.
Well, I didn't switch them yet.
Oh.
See, I just put y equals, boys, y'all listen. Okay, so you switch your x and your y. So x equals 3y plus 4. Now, moving your 4. So I get x minus 4 equals 3y, and then divide by 3. Which me, personally, I like to leave my answers like this. Oh, sorry, y'all can't see that. That is finding the inverse. Now we tell the domain and range. This is how they would write their answer. Okay? They would put the 1/3 with the x and then the 4 with the 3. That's how they would do it. That's the same exact answer. Me, I like to leave mine like this because of our next chapter. Okay. Then it
If you
says,
had the 3 on the top, would it be wrong? And the x minus 4 on the bottom?
yes, that would be wrong. Yes. Okay, now it says find the domain and range. Y'all, if x is not in the denominator or under a square root at any time, then it's going to be, most likely it's going to be all real numbers. So for your domain and your range, let's graph it. This is what she was saying. Let's graph, I'll put x minus 4. I'm going to put it in parentheses because I'm saying all that's in the top over 3. Now watch, when I graph it, it goes to the left forever, to the right forever. So that's, your domain is all real numbers. It goes up forever and down forever. So your range is all real numbers. Every number is going to work, okay? Even the first function, my domain and range would have been all real numbers. Now let's look at number 9. I did number 9 yesterday, but it won't hurt us to do it again, okay? So real quick, we're going to start, let's find the domain and range of our first function. Is there anything that x can't be?
-7.
Yes, it can be -7, but anything that's less than -7, right? Because negative numbers, right? What if that's -8, you get imaginary numbers. That's not real.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so all your x values have to be greater than or equal to -7. What's -7 plus 7?
0.
And you can find the square root of 0. It's 0. Okay, what's -8 plus 7?
1.
-1. What's the square root of -1? Error.
Okay,
Error.
so
It's an imaginary number. So all your x values, so that's your domain.
they have to be
X
bigger than
has to be bigger than -7. Look, let's graph it. Let's go ahead and graph it. This is actually what we're doing Monday and Tuesday. We are graphing these on Monday and Tuesday.
square root of x.
So you do the square root
It's gonna start at -7.
of x plus 7. Look at him getting this. He's just over there. He's
I
got
don't know
this.
why, but I know that.
Okay. And so if I graph, it starts at -7. So your
Is it plus or
domain,
minus?
look at all your x values. They start at -7 and it's all the numbers going that way.
Okay.
That's what we said. What's our range? Our range, it's at 0 and up. So your range would be y is greater than or equal to 0. Now, we're going to find the inverse. Let's switch gears. That was just a domain and range problem. Let's find the inverse of this. We switch this x and y.
X equals.
So yeah, x equals the square root of y plus 7. Are you good with that? Now, how do you get rid of the square root?
You square it. Or-
Well, you square.
it.
So it's x squared equals y plus 7. Then what?
Subtract 7.
Yep, subtract 7. X squared minus 7 equals y. Now we're going to find our domain and range. Guess what? If we just switched these x's and y's, guess what do you think we're going to do with that?
Switch those.
But let's see. Let's just graph it and see what happens. But we think, let's just switch our x and y here. So go to y equals, type in x squared minus 7, and let's just look at our picture. Our x values, so this one is a little bit different. Our x values do go on forever. They go to the right forever, right? It's gonna keep going out. They'll go to the left forever. So my x values are actually all real numbers. What about my y values though? They are greater than or equal to -7. So y is greater than or equal to -7, and x, my domain is all real. That one was a little bit different on the domain. But see how that's similar on just switching your x and y? Yeah, that's what we did yesterday. Haley and Ben, y'all missed yesterday, both of you? Okay. All right. Pick any other ones. Any other ones on here. What? Are there any other ones on this paper that y'all want me to go over?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You want me to go over some of them? Yeah, you want? I can. Okay.
Just
Oh,
random.
did we do this today?
No, this was kind of yesterday's stuff, but I didn't never give y'all paper. Find the inverse. All right, which one out of 1 through 4?
3.
3. Okay. I have y equals 4 minus 3x. How do you find the inverse? You
Switch.
switch them. So I'm going to put x equals 4 minus 3y.
That's it?
Well, we have to graph it. We'll graph it in a minute. We have to solve for y.
Oh, so you add, subtract 4.
Subtract 4.
Divide by -3.
So x minus 4, and you're right, divide by -3. So I have x minus 4 divided by -3. I would just type it in my calculator like that.
Can we just do that on the y
you graph
equals?
Yeah, so I would go, and I can tell y'all if it's x, it's going to be a straight line. If it's an x squared, it's a parabola. If it's a square root, like you should kind of get used to this. Like this should be a straight line. If I ever have an x squared, it's going to look like a parabola. Okay, if I ever have a square root, it's going to be that weird one we're learning next week where it kind of starts here and it just goes over. Okay, anyway, but let's just graph. Remember, careful here, put your x minus 4 in parentheses because all that goes on top. What I would rather do if you have a newer calculator, I would do the fraction bar, do x minus 4 over -3. When I graph it, is that a function? Oh, we went over this yesterday. How do you tell if it's a function?
They can only go through it once.
Yeah, vertical line test. It only goes through it once. It's a function.
Yes.
Yep. When you have a positive and a negative square root, that's when it's not going to be a function.
That's all you have to do, right?
Yep, on that one. So you found your inverse, and then you would say, yes, it's a function. Okay, what's another one that y'all want me to do? Ready, Caden? Ready or not, huh?
What about 5?
Number 5. Okay,
Just be
graph.
negative.
So all you'll do, let's go ahead and graph it.
Easy, but stupid.
So I'm going to graph y equals -x. I'm doing number 5, everybody, all right? So I type in -x,
Oh.
and look at my table. Okay, so I'm going to turn my paper over.
So that's a function.
So this one's a function. So I'm graphing y equals -x.
Oh,
Okay.
you have to graph, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so you get -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, -1. It's this straight line. That is a function, you're right.
So, and then to
Now
switch
I
it-
have to find the inverse. How do I find the inverse?
X equals -y.
Yeah, you just switch them. And you're going to say x equals -y. Well, how do you solve? Let me do a different color. I'll do this one in
You
red.
would just
Yes,
one
switch
negative
Yeah,
X
you
and
so
Y.
y equals -x. Right? You would just divide them both by a negative sign. What do you notice on that? It's the
It's just opposite points.
same thing.
It's the same thing. Y equals -x. I switch them and I get x equals -y divided by -1, and y equals -x again. So that's just the inverse. All right. If it's flipped, it's just kind of basically it's flipped over itself. The graph did.
I don't like that.
Okay. What's another one then? Do y'all want me to graph? How about number 7? Yeah, let's do 2 minus x squared. I'm going to graph that one right here. Y equals 2 minus x squared. I'm going to graph it first and then I'll do the whole inverse. No, this is not. This is just practice. This is just what y'all learned. 2 minus x, it's okay. We all have our moments. Squared. We graph it and it had an x squared, so I knew it was going to be a parabola.
Oh, so I need to put it in
If
parentheses.
yes, if they have it in parentheses, you need to have it in parentheses. Look at mine. 2 minus x squared. What? Your calculator's only as smart as you are. It's going to graph exactly what you tell it.
No, I gotta put like 18 parentheses.
Oh yeah, no, you're yours is okay.
I don't know.
So now let me try and get some points. It looks like I moved over here at 2. So I'll do some of these points. 1, 1, 2, 0, 3, 1, 4, 4. Okay. So here's my little parabola. Everybody okay with it? Now I'm going to find my inverse. Based on what you learned yesterday, what's going to happen to that parabola? It's probably going to turn what way? Sideways. This is a function. Do you think our answer is going to be our inverse is going to be a function? No. Based on what we learned yesterday, probably not. So let's switch our x and y to find the inverse function.
4, 0.
So x equals 2 minus y squared. Everybody good with me switching those? How do you get rid of a square?
You screwed it.
And when you square root, you end up with a plus
And minus.
and a minus. And remember, the plus sign is going to make that part of the parabola. What's the minus sign going to do?
The bottom.
Makes that part of the parabola. So you'll have two different things. Yes, we're going to learn that Monday.
This
Since
is why
the
I put
y
18
isn't-
parentheses right here.
Since it's not y equals, well, how would you plug that in the calculator?
This, you can't. You have to solve for y. So that's what we're about to do. We're going to square root both sides. So you get plus or minus the square root of x, and then that cancels out. Does that make sense, Haley?
Yes.
So now we subtract 2.
So it'd be.
So I have, I'll just put -2 plus or minus square root of x. It doesn't matter what order. Now what's wrong with that?
-y.
So I'm going to switch everything. That becomes a 2. I'll switch my plus and my minus sign, and guess what they become?
Minus y.
A minus and plus sign still. Okay. Square root of x equals y. Now I'll type that
Would
in.
the x not go? No, x can't be negative.
Yeah, no. You just change that to a plus or minus. I mean, it ends up being the same, the positive and the negative. Now, I have to enter both of these into y equals. Okay, so watch. Let me just do the first one. I'll do 2 plus the square root of x. And watch what happens here. That is the one side of my parabola. Guess what I need to go back and enter in? The minus sign is going to be the bottom part. So 2 minus the square root of x. And there's the other one. Okay?
Mine showed that it was lower down.
Well, that 2 should have it up there at 2. Does yours look like this? Or you could have
I
square.
might have messed it up with the 2 on the negative.
Okay.
Let me do it. Minus.
So, and then I would just look at some of my, oops, press the wrong thing, sorry. Some of my answers.
Maybe zoom in.
Press zoom
Zoom
6.
six.
Your 2 should be positive? Is your 2
Maybe
positive?
it's the same, maybe it's just not as zoomed in. Or zoomed in.
Press zoom 6.
No, it looks the same.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, no, that we want to make sure. So look, notice all these errors. Error. If I look at my graph, all the numbers on this side are errors because there is no graph there, okay? There is no, like, picture or here anything over here for me to have ordered pairs or points. That's why there's errors. So I'm only looking from here over. Is this a function?
Yes.
If I draw a line through it, it can only go through once.
Okay.
It's not a function. So look, let me just get some ordered pairs. I'll do 0, 2, and 1, 3. And I'll do one more in the blue, 4, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that is that half of my parabola. Now let me do the red. 0, 2, 1, 1. And I'm guessing this one's going to be 0. I meant 4, 0, yeah. There's the other side. So there's my inverse function, okay? When it's a parabola, your inverse function is just going to be turned sideways. Now look, it could be turned backwards. Like if my parabola was an upside down parabola, this green one would actually be facing this way, okay? And y'all, guess what? We're doing all that Monday and Tuesday a little bit. Wednesday is study guide. We're going over all this. We have a lot of stuff from the first part of the chapter as well to go back over. So that's probably what I'll do Tuesday and Wednesday. Did we?
In Miss Oliver's.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's what I have mine.